we are. Hey, everybody. I'm Sherry Richert Belul, and I am so happy to be reunited with Barbara Hinske. Hey, Barbara.
Hey, Sherry, I'm so happy to be here with you virtually. This is
I
great.
know, I know. So I just wanted to say, as a short introduction, I met Barbara through a wonderful, wonderful colleague of mine, and Barbara is attorney turned author, which I think is really fascinating. I wish we could talk about just that, Barbara, but I know we have some other things to focus on. But I wanted to say that your books, you have so many books, and they're beautiful, they're loving, they're meaningful. I particularly just wanted to mention Guiding Emily, which I feel like had just like a particular tug at my heart. And I know that it's a particular tug for you, that you actually donate some, and I'm going to have you talk about that if you want, about donating some of the proceeds, and also about the movie.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, my Guiding Emily series, the first one is Guiding Emily, which, by the way, has just been translated into French. So I'm
Oh,
happy about that. That's the big deal.
ooh la
Um, is a book, I won't talk much about the book, but I do donate half of the proceeds from the sale of that book to the Foundation for Blind Children, where I got the inspiration to write the series. Um, and it's now 6 books strong. It's been made into a Hallmark Channel movie that I'm told is the most watched movie in the history of Crown Media, which I'm really proud of and explains why they keep. Yeah, isn't that amazing? Because it's a 60 Crown Media. It's been in business 60 years, and um, it's the same name, and they're still airing it. So that's Guiding Emily. I've written a Rosemont series, women fiction with a little bit of mystery, thriller, suspense. My Paws and Pastry series. I've got a couple of murder mysteries, and a book since this Christmas. It's I wanted to mention The Christmas Club, which is a lovely little Christmas novella that I wrote that the Hallmark Channel also adapted in a movie of the same name, and it airs all the time. And I'm gonna, if I can be just promotional for just a skosh.
Of course you can.
So I just received this email from a reader, and he said, I just finished rereading The Christmas Club like I do every Christmas. He said, I am now reminded of a quote by J.D. Salinger that I feel is fitting. Here it is. When you are done reading a book, you wish the author was a terrific friend of yours so that you could call him or her on the phone anytime you wish. That's how I feel after reading any of your books. Okay. Thank you so much. So, anyway, if you're looking for blood guts on the page and the popular unhappy ending, don't read a Barbara Hinske book. If you want to feel connected and comforted, and still, I mean, the plot arcs are interesting, and there are some intellectual things in the books. So it's not all complete pablum, but you will feel good. So
And Barbara,
that's
I love that. I love that you read that email because, first of all, I feel so fortunate to be here with you, right?
well,
Well, I want to, it's true. It's true. And I also want to say that, who you are in real life is the same as the feeling of the books. Like, I feel like, forgive me if I'm projecting onto you, but I think I'm right, that you exude this sort of love and goodness and wanting wanting the best for people, wanting the best for the world.
yeah, I do. I do. A win on my side of the column. I was an attorney, and I always said, a win for myself that is a loss for the other side is not a win. The only in contracts and the rest of that, and it didn't always happen, but you need to reach where both sides feel like they've won, and then you've got an agreement, a deal that's going to be successful going forward. If you're one person's getting it all and the other person is dragging along feeling bad, it's just not going to work. Anyway, but that was my philosophy.
And I love this, and it really, I know we're kind of, having a long introduction,
Yeah,
but I think it's important for people to understand why we're going to be having the conversation that we're having. And a lot of that is because from the moment I first met you, I felt this kinship. I felt this like kindred spirit and goodness from you. And this also, which I think is going to lead into, so people know, Barbara wrote the foreword to my book, The Love List of a Lifetime. Which, I love that you have it right there. And I feel so fortunate that you did that because of all these things we're talking about. Plus, there is this very interesting fact of your career that as an attorney, you know a little something about estate planning too, right?
Yeah, right.
So I just wanted to say all of that because first of all, I haven't seen you in a long time and I'm so darned excited to see you. And second of all, I am so grateful because as I told you, one of the most memorable parts of the book so far that I've heard people talk about is a story that you tell. And so can we start there? Will you share with everyone? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't have the book.
Yes, I'd love to. In talking about the book, and I'm at an age where both of my parents have passed, my grandparents have passed. Now, recently, one of my very dearest friends passed, and I'm executive of her estate, so I've got some observations for that. But as in writing the foreword of the book, I was thinking that both of my parents did a lot of pre-planning, pre-planned funeral, all that stuff, paid, pre-planned, all of that. And I knew their wishes. It was so much easier. And, a generation before, my grandmother, who was very long lived, but was a prepared sort of woman and had masking tape on the back of all of the family heirlooms saying who she wanted to get it. And I would remember going to her house and helping her get ready for Thanksgiving. She and I were both ones that loved cooking and spent many, I don't want to, I'll start. Anyway, so we would get out all the good stuff and take all the masking tape off the back and put it on the windowsill above her kitchen sink. They'd be hanging half on, half off, lined up.
Yep.
We'd wash them, clean them, use them for Thanksgiving or Christmas, wash them, and then under her supervision, I would put all the masking tape back, and back they would go into storage. We must have done this for 15 years. Wow. But when the time came, there was no dispute over who got I got the turkey platter. I got the meat platter. Yeah, I guess there was an advantage for being the one who came every year and hauled it out and washed it and put it away. And it was legit. I was in a position, now that I think of it, that I could have just switched up. But I didn't.
Just a tiny aside before you go on. I hate to interrupt you, but people always say that to me. They're always like, I think my siblings would switch all the labels around, but I don't think people really would do that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I've certainly been, I was at one funeral where the chords of the final hymn were still ringing in the air and people were pulling out of the parking lot to get to the house to start hauling stuff out to their car. It was just astounding, but hopefully, that's the reason why you need to do your planning, because you don't want that kind of thing to happen as you were being laid to rest, because it just seeds discord among people that most of us want to come together. We don't want our loved ones to leave the funeral and they will never speak or talk again. We want them to go forward together. So, this is just key for that.
When I love something else, like what you just said is incredibly important, right? So it's like the pre-planning really helps to hopefully alleviate any sort of frustration or confusion or fighting that could happen afterward. And you also said, which is one of my favorite quotes, is that what you learned from your grandmother is that planning for our death is not morbid, it's kind. So I also love that she was doing in her own way kind of an educating, right, for her family that, hey, this isn't morbid, and I loved that piece.
Well, exactly right. I think for people who have not lived close to family where they're around from an early age, people that pass, and what that process is, the whole thing is just scary as heck. And how am I going to emotionally handle it? And how am I going to do this and that? I think earlier generations where you lived more locally, and so you lived where your aunts and uncles died regularly, grandparents, all you were used to the passing of the torch, and it was just a more normalized process than, I've been thrown into the deep end without floaties.
Oh,
What am I doing? Um, and I think that's why this book is such an easy. I mean, I adore this book.
oh,
I'm going to start using it myself. This is on my 2026 vision
oh.
to go through this myself. Um, and I do some of it, but now's a good time for people. Now is a great time for this book to come out because people are getting together for the holidays, and maybe people will start having conversations, and someone will say, "Well, there's this book." And this book doesn't look scary, does it? It
No.
doesn't look like it's written by a lawyer and your eyes are going to roll back in your head. And you've got so much white space and places to write in it and QR codes and all kinds of stuff to make it easy. And it doesn't have to be done on the weekend everyone's together. You can work on this. And probably is better to work on it if you can for a little bit of time to really sink in and think. And I think all that thinking
Mm.
is a blessing to you as the person who's going to pass.
Barbara, I love what you're saying, and thank you so much because you're giving voice to so much. First of all, it was really important to me to have a friendly voice in the book because
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
yeah, it's not an easy topic, and I wanted it to feel inviting. But also, what you just said is something that I think a lot of people may not be aware of, which is that even though it may seem like facing our death can be scary, it's actually something that opens us to joy. Because what it does is it memento mori, right? It reminds us like this person is impermanent. And if that's the case, which it is, then what do I want to do? As Mary Oliver says, what will you do with your one, precious life, right? I think it's that.
Well, for sure. And when I read this before I wrote the preface, it really came front and center. What am I spending so much time doing? Racing around from dawn to dusk. It helped me be made last year. My watchword was mindfulness. How am I
Oh,
spending these few precious days, years, moments that I have? What do I want to be doing? And I decided I don't want to be on TikTok. So, I mean, yeah, it's wonderful to do that. It is kind to do that. I'll mention another example, which my kids tease me about, but because I'm an author and I have a lot of books, so that stuff will live on and could be a very lucrative source of passive income for my
yes.
children. But they need to know what to do with it, and it is not easy. So I read a whole bunch of books about estate planning for lawyers and the last letter to your children about all that. So I have a 50-page document, and I'm going to start next week is on my agenda to just update it, add the new
Yeah.
information on all the stuff, the copyright and registration, all that stuff on the stuff I wrote this year. Update it, and then I make my husband and my two children sit down and I have a copy printed out for each of them, the 50-page, and we go through it. And my daughter teases me. She always puts it Sunday fun day with mom, you know. Um, but my son really pays attention to it because they would be absolutely lost. And one thing I think I
Wow.
always tell people, which somebody should put in here, and that is if someone has a cell phone when they die, do not cut off the plan and get off their phone number because if they've got two-factor authentication
Oh my goodness.
things, you will not. You will have to get a court order to get whatever that account unlocked is, and you won't get it. So no, no, no. Keep it going for months until you figure all of it out.
And you know what else? Well, I'm going to say two things. One is about the phone. I recently lost a very dear coaching client who passed away a few weeks ago. And I was really missing her on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And I texted her phone thinking the phone would have been deactivated. But you know what? Her daughter had kept it on, probably for the exact reason you said. And her daughter called me, and we had the most beautiful conversation about how much I loved her mom. The other people in the coaching group loved her. It was so meaningful. And that's something we don't really think about, right? Like there are people who we kept saying, like, wow, we didn't know how to contact her daughter. We didn't know if she knew how much we loved Bev. And so there's that piece too, right? Like that, yeah. And the second thing, I want to thank you for talking about your literary estate, because one of the things in the book, and I'm sure my friend Allie's fine with this because I quoted her in the book, I have a poet friend who we started talking about this book when I was writing it, and it made her realize she does not yet have plans for her literary work. And it really, and she said to me, she said, even my husband wouldn't know how to find my newest manuscript on my computer, right? Yeah. Like she said, what about all of the rights to all of my books and what's going to happen to my unpublished work? And I don't go into all of that in the book, of course, because that's a lot and it's specific, but I do, I quote Allison and I say, if you have any kind of creative body of work, sometimes people are thinking, what is going to happen to all of that? And to making sure, like,
of course.
Yeah.
And if your friend, you can connect us if you want, because I do have the resources that I use. There are some very specific author-focused estate planning that she absolutely needs to get.
I love it, Barbara. This is so you. That what you just did there is just like classic Barbara. Like you always want to help everybody. I love that. That's so sweet. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Before we head out, I know we were gonna keep this kind of short, but before we go, I know you said there were some other things that were really important to you. Do you feel like, was there anything that you didn't have a chance to cover yet?
Yes, there was one other thing. As I mentioned, I am now executor of my girlfriend's estate, and she had planned her financial stuff well, but she had she had disinherited and was estranged from her daughter, and so there's a lot to unpack on that, not just for the daughter.
Yes.
But and this is a woman that I knew so well. I mean, we called each other every day.
Oh, Barbara.
20 years. And it was she had been feeling ill, but no one expected her to die, and so it was a shock. I mean, when my daughter learned she was pregnant, I wanted to call Jeffrey, and I had to look up and tell Jeffrey.
Oh, Barbara.
Yeah, she's a wonderful gal. But I think the not just with respect to the daughter, but her son and her daughter's grandson, who inherited his mother's part, they questioned and they don't know the emotional context of that.
Right.
And I think that would be, as I see them grieving and trying to work through this, I mean, she may not have wanted to say everything, but I think there needed to be some context that is missing, and that I don't, I wasn't her. I knew a lot of her thoughts, and I've tried my best to provide that, but it's not the same. It is not the same. So I think these later chapters where you lead us through introspection about ourselves and about our relationships can be so healing. And like you say in the book, sometimes that's the stuff. I mean, obviously all the other estate planning stuff. What are my passwords? Where do I bank? All that kind of stuff. You got to have that stuff.
Right.
Hey, that's the easy stuff. But having Sherry take you by the hand and lead you through the emotional stuff, which is what you do better than anybody I have ever encountered is so helpful. So helpful.
I thank you so much for sharing that. And gosh, I'm so sad about the loss of this long term friend.
Yeah, thank you.
But how beautiful that you could share this piece of the story in order to help other people, because you're absolutely right. Like all the book is separated in exactly that way, right? There's the legal, logistical, and then there's everything else, which is no small thing. I love you. Right? Like, so what you're saying,
no small thing. And that's the hardest part for us. I mean, I know where to go to get my bank account number, of course, to put it on a piece of paper, but how to reach into my soul and organize, that's hard.
Right. And yet, like, I think it also, this is the piece that you were referring to earlier that I want to make sure that I underline, which is that we have to project ourselves into the future and imagine the people we love, and how is our death, like all the different ways it's going to impact them, and as much as possible, to leave that place for them as peaceful as possible. I feel so strongly about that. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I wish I had given this book to my friend. But anyway, so it's not, I guess it's not a book just for you, but it's a good book to share with, your bestie.
I love that. I know. And I'm so grateful to you, Barbara, because I feel like, and it was just such kismet that we met when we did, that you happened to be, you were so generous in writing the foreword for the book. And I love it because I feel like you carry all the parts of the book with you, which not everybody does, right? You have the legal logistical background. You also are such a woman of such heart and generosity and love for family and friends. So I feel like you were the perfect person for this.
Thank you. Well, I felt honored to do it. And I'm wondering, this may be a dumb idea, but doing a guided, I don't know if you've ever heard of Emily P. Freeman, who does The Next Right Thing. And she's like a spiritual leader anyway, but spiritual, not like a religion anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm doing her guided journal next year. And so she's decided to, because I've had the damn thing, pardon me, for 3 or 4 years and never done it. And so, because I'm not a journaler, but I want to be a journaler. So she's now started the thing. She's going to do like a monthly call where she just kind of walks through the journal. And I thought, I'm in. I thought, okay, I can do this if somebody leads me. Have you ever thought of doing like a monthly call and just walk us through?
You know what, Barbara, it's a great idea, and I have thought of it. And there are also a lot of people out there who do that for work.
Oh, there are. Okay. Yeah.
So what I hope to do, because I've been doing a lot of conversations like this with people like you, and what I hope to do is find, 3 or 4 of those people, so we get some different kinds of personality styles. And
I love that.
But because I feel like there are a lot of people who that's what they focus on. Whereas, for me, my focus is really on relationships and appreciating and loving the people in our lives. And I kind of want to keep that as the overall. I don't want to like become a death toll, for instance, which there are such things in case people don't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
But I love that you brought it up, and it just plants the seed for me to remember, like, let's get a few people on who have these kinds of classes in process coming up in the new year.
As a resource for people. Yeah.
I love you so much. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for the foreword. Thank you for holding my book up with such love and care.
Oh, it is. It's right next to my heart. And it feels so good. I love the way it feels.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Yeah.
And where's your favorite place if people want to buy your books? Do you have a favorite bookseller?
I mean, most of them are Amazon because that's where they are, but they're everywhere. Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Barnes and Noble has been very good to me. They're on the print. The print books are everywhere. The Guiding Emily series ebooks are everywhere. Everything else, though, is ebooks are on Amazon. So
good. That gives people that gives people some wide variety. I'm going to encourage everyone to, it is the holiday season. And if you need some, extra wonderful reading gifts for people, Barbara's books are just uplifting and beautiful. And Lord knows we need a lot of that kind of love and positivity right now. So,
and they are in libraries, and libraries will always be glad to order them in. So I am a long-term library lover. Some authors say I never mention the library because, but no.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Another great Barbara quality, right? Like I too, let's support our libraries. We want to keep them around too, right? Like, so.
Oh, absolutely. Especially these days. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Listen, thank you, Barbara. You're so awesome. And I will put the link for some of Barbara's contacts in the comments underneath, and also the one for Love List of a Lifetime. Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. You're amazing. Yay.